not sure if I'll post this today because I've already posted quite a bit. The last 2 weeks have been, to call it reflection, it's like the speed dating version of reflection. In that I'm having a lot of dots connect at the same time that I've just kind of let stay spinning as I've kind of, it started with sobriety, no question, because sobriety is where I admitted to myself that I couldn't get out of where I was alone. And now I'm addicted to community. Like I've got guys who I processed with so much this week, just texts with them that I've like texted a couple guys and said like, dude, you're not going to hear from me for a while, so don't worry. Like, take the weekend off of babysitting my, I don't want to call it revelations, my realizations. There you go. Revelations are for other people. Realizations are for me. When I was in middle school, I want to say there was this girl, but I was a middle school boy. They were all this girl, right? But there was like three, I would say, that, there were two. There were two that I thought were just way out of my league, but I was going to pursue them because my ego in middle school, especially starting in 7th grade, was more than healthy. Socially, life was pretty kosher for me. If there's any chance that there's guys that I sat at lunch with watching this, you know exactly what I mean. I faced zero resistance at all. I wasn't like the cool kid. I just was comfortable. And so because of that, I didn't have enemies. But I also, I had things I was self-conscious about. I'm a middle school boy, and all we think about is girls, and we're completely self-conscious. It's awful. It's a horrible time, really. But I was comfortable during this horrible time. And there were two girls that I was like, oh my goodness, like anything for either one of these girls. And they weren't like, I had like most of the girls that I was interested in from a young age, and don't make me define young because it was a young age, were church girls, right? Because why become romantically attached to someone who is going to spend eternity in hell? That's just weird. That's what a waste. So, I remember I went to a dance at the YMCA, and I was in it was either 7th or 8th grade. And the YMCA middle school dances in Kearney circa late 90s were magic. They were, oh, what a scene. We all had for me personally, it was the Tommy Hilfiger cologne. This was pre-Axe days, and man, we went hard on that cologne. So there were guys passing out sample bottles that they had stolen from JCPenney at the Hilltop Mall, and it was a dance. And then we all got in there, just revved up hormonally, praying that we don't have any physiological reactions dancing close to girls. And I remember we were all just standing there, and the music started. First song, and it was a slow song. Stupid idea. Why would you start with a slow song? Horrible DJ. Had to have been a middle school teacher. And an older one at that. Yuck. So everyone just stood on the walls. The music played, and then we all saw this one girl who a lot of us liked. She was one of my two that was just untouchable. Of course I like her, but that's a Make-A-Wish type date type situation for a guy like me. And I remember she stepped out. She was looking into the area. She was across the gym. She was looking towards the area that I was in, but there was a lot of guys standing right next to me. And she started to walk over slowly, and all of our hearts raised up. And each one of us was begging whatever God we believed in to be the one that she had piqued interest in. And I remember she got about 5 feet from a group of us. This is like a Bachelor, like the show Bachelor, The Bachelor, before it was a thing. And we're all sitting there wondering, and she looks, and it feels like she's been looking at me since she was across the room, but like, I'm an optimistic cat, and I was feeling my swagger that night. But she gets about 5 feet away, and at this point, I'm like, okay, she's either staring at like a pimple on my forehead, or we've been making eye contact for a hot minute. And then she does, I'll never forget the move. You still my heart. She does this move. Real slow though, she wasn't driving. To me specifically. And I remember taking a step, and like she stepped towards me, and I was like, oh, she does mean me, okay. And so we went out into the middle of the gym, and she put my hands on her hips, and I extended my arms as far as they would possibly go. And never in my life have I been more self-conscious, but more like to like every one of my friends and enemies. And I had experiences like that with a few girls later in life, where it was like they were way off limits in my mind, and then come to find out they weren't. I remember there was one in college that I found out later, when it was, let's call it too late, that this girl was a fan of mine, and I was surprised and a little bit frustrated. And recently, when I started writing some of my thoughts, it's kind of felt like that. It's kind of felt like, or it's kind of like when at the beginning of The Wizard of Oz, the tree smashes the witch, and the Munchkins all like poke their head out. I expected either dead silence, spiritual concern, like the whole I'm praying for you thing, or anger from a lot of people who I've spent a lot of time with. And I haven't had dead silence, but I've had zero anger. No, I'm praying for you, although I'm sure you're out there, and I do appreciate it. I'll take all the prayers I can get. But I've been pretty shocked by some of the people that have reached out and said, yeah, we're kind of done with church right now. And like, I get it, dude. We built something. You know, I was the part of drums coming on stage for the first time at so many churches. And I really thought that was building the kingdom. And in ways it probably was at the time. But we got pretty excited when things started to go the way we wanted it to, and we started to think that we were the ones who had the answers. And we overshot. Now, I believe that we overshot hundreds of years ago. Maybe more. I spent a lot of my energy, my first 40 years, trying to build something that I was told I was born to help build. The problem with that is, since I can remember, probably right after I was baptized when I was eight. The thing that I've been told I'm here to continue building, that my family historically has been a big part of building for a long time. I haven't agreed with all of it, and I've seen things while I'm trying to do what I believe is good and progressive and right. There was something in the core of it all that never felt right. And it was weird because my dad and I were so close, but it caused so many heavy heavy, awful arguments between us. Just differences in theology in general. Even within Christianity, as an ideology, not a lifestyle even. I mean, we're so far off base, but that's another video or blog for another day. And if you're this far into this video, you probably are already aware that we're quite a ways off base, because the people who I don't give a shit about their opinion are weeding out, and the people who I thought were done listening are coming out. Let's keep talking. You're not alone. If you've reached out to me and said, "Oh, thank you for saying that, I've really struggled with where the church is," there are a lot of you. And I don't want to make it sound like I have some answer that nobody has. I don't. I just have questions that I'm no longer afraid to ask. And it's been an exhausting journey getting to where I feel comfortable that I am within my right mind and headed the right direction. And I've had some weird places I've ended up in life, and I've done things that I never ever thought were even possible for me to do, and I've justified all of it, right? And I learned last year when I got sober and went through treatment how far off base I was because of my own decisions. But I was twisted up inside well before I ever cracked the Busch Light. Well before I still don't know how to roll a joint. I suck at it. I always paid people money to roll one for me. But well before I ever did anything to escape the pressure that I was born into, I was already a mess. And it took a long ways and a long time to realize all I have to do is remember who I am. It's the prodigal son. I saw this great video with Pete Holmes a few weeks ago. He's on I don't know how long ago it took place, but the video was recorded on the Howie Day show. Howie Mandel. I don't know, the bald dude that doesn't like touching doorknobs. He has a podcast. And Pete Holmes, he was good friends with one of my favorite professional surfers, Rob Bell, talked about how Jesus' main story, like the story he's known for, the story that everyone agrees was his thing and is the most traceable back to him, both within the Bible and outside the Bible and historical text and evidence, is the story of the prodigal son. And Pete Holmes has this beautiful, I'm not going to talk through it, but this beautiful way that he describes it, like the prodigal son returns home because he remembers who he is. Then I went down some rabbit holes and realized that there's some pretty huge, important elements that are within the Bible as it exists, which that we just either haven't translated because we don't know to. But I mean, I've taken some of my questions about some of the things I've learned in the last 2 months to people that know the Hebrew and Greek down to the root numbers and all of it, that didn't know some really basic, important elements to the story of the prodigal son. And again, if you want information about that, if you're curious, shoot me a message or shoot me a comment or whatever, and I'll hook you up with some of the things I found on my rabbit trail. But we've never gotten the full story at all. I remember when I was in second grade, my teacher loved playing telephone. And so we would get in a line or sometimes in a circle, and there would be 15, 20 of us. And she would say a very simple sentence into the first kid's ear. And then that kid whispered it to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next. And by the end, it was never even close. It's been 2,000 years. We know things we didn't used to know. I know there's nothing new. I get that. None of these problems are new kinds of problems. But if you think there's nothing new, then don't use the internet. It's okay to ask questions. Dad's not mad. That doesn't mean that we should do whatever we want to do, regardless of the outcome, to our neighbor and to those we love. It means we should probably listen a little more to what our gut tells us. And if we feel uncomfortable with something, maybe ask another person. I think a quote that's truly saved my life is, if you're the smartest person in the room, find another room. And about 2 months ago, I outsourced my insanity to a group of about 5 leaders that I'm friends with. And it's gone well, and it's helped me believe that my sanity is not within question. And I continue to randomly get messages from people who I was positive were so stuck in their dogma they would never come around to this. And they're saying, I feel so alone. I've been here too, and there's a lot of us. And there's no urgency to this. You want to urgently grow the kingdom? Capital K. Stop worrying about labels. My dad and I fought only about very intense, very important feeling theology, and we fought hours and hours of our life away. There was one night I almost left Rapid City, South Dakota at midnight to drive back to my home in Kansas, and I had a daughter asleep at the time. And since his death, I've had hundreds, if not thousands, of comments about him from different people all over the world, literally all over the world. Not one person has mentioned anything about his politics or theology. Zero. A lot of people talk about how he had a secret relationship with them. Nothing inappropriate, but he remembered what they were working on, and he made them feel better when they were in a hard time, or they remember his whistle or his smile or how he made them feel. The sky is falling, but we're fine. If we want to rapidly advance this thing, let's turn pews into tables and start having some damn meals. And I'm not looking to overthrow anything that exists. I don't need a building to advance the kingdom. I'm not worried about tax law in the United States of America. Go off with that. This is good versus evil. It's not that hard. Keep asking questions. Start learning to wash some dishes. Cook for strangers.